Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 11 of the SkyTemple Podcast, an exercise in enthusiastic rambling about Explorers of Sky ROM hacks. My name is MaxSchersey, coming to you live from the U.S. West Coast and from down under in Australia. I am joined by yakkomon. We are late to recording this because it's Hack of the Year season.
Yes.
We are both trying to fit in hacks for a busy schedule. Playing the hacks for this episode.
It's actually been going quicker than I thought. Like, I've been surprised at how many hacks I've been able to do. Like, I have limited time on my hands. Like, I cannot binge. Like, I don't stay up late or anything. So I've only got a good, hour or two outside of work and stuff to do it. And I've been surprised at how quickly I've been going through the hacks, which is most of them are the in progress hacks. But I just started rambling already, and it's only the second minute of the podcast.
We got a lot of short and sweet ones. Sweet ones. It's good. Let's see. I did not write down anything for news. What do you have?
So I didn't really write. I just wrote down that we probably don't have much news this week, on the account of the fact that a lot of creators were putting through stuff for Hack of the Year, so patching their hacks and everything. So everyone was sort of doing the big push to get stuff out. I think the only piece of significant news is that for those who don't know, and everything, is that for those that have been following Explorers of Alpha, there is a 2.0 available for release. However, it is considered to be a sort of a Hack of the Year unofficial edition that I would call a beta alpha 2.0, because the creator Mon has said that it is unpolished and there could be bugs and everything. So hopefully expect an official 2.0 release that'll probably get, big hoo-ha trailer and everything, when that gets released. So if you're into alpha, look out for that.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, Mon said that whenever that official one is done, it will be posted on the Project Pokemon thread. The version that's available now is not on Project Pokemon because it's not a official.
Correct.
Okay.
Apart from that, no news.
No news. Moving on to hack discussion. Episode, we are going to be interviewing FunnyKecleonMeme, who has made 3 hacks. We're going to talk about all 3 of them in order, as we do on this podcast. First one that he made, called Dusknoir the Spirit Guide. Is it Dusknoir, Dusknoir? I don't know. Some people like to put that inflection on it.
I guess it depends on your accent. Sorry, I talked over you, but it depends on your accent. I say Dusknoir.
Okay.
But that's the Australian accent is known for slurring words like you're a drunkard. So
okay.
Don't take my you're talking to a guy who pronounces Wigglytuff's right hand man as Shatot.
You know what? I will take that advice and say Dusknoir. Goodness. This came out for the Halloween 2021 Hack Jam story about Dusknoir. He pulls out his Motorola Razr to talk to Giratina, and says that someone just died. Escort them to my lair, I guess, my office.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the implication is there, but it's a Litwick, and you are the spirit guide, and you escort Litwick through 3 dungeons, and then there's 1 dungeon where, spoilers, you do not have Litwick with you anymore. What do you feel about the story in this one? The story for all of these, I guess I'll say first, is pretty pretty minimal. You know, it's there to be a vehicle to push the story forward, right? Nothing wrong with that. It keeps it deliberately simple. Doesn't try to interrupt you very much with cutscenes. But what do you think about the premise for this one?
Yeah, I quite like the premise of this one. This was obviously this was the first attempt by Keck to make a hack, and I think what I noticed through all three of these hacks, and probably what'll come up a lot, is the focus is more on gameplay rather than story. So you're right. The story itself, it's almost a vehicle to service the gameplay along. However, I found it really charming. In the sense, I mean, charming as it can be for the subject matter and Litwick's personality. But I think, it was a really solid first hack. Dust Noir, it's quite sort of, he's very protective. I like that about him, and you don't quite know exactly what Litwick was in the living world, but you know that he is. You learn very early on why Giratina wants him, but I think it services it well. It all makes sense as part of the story, and it keeps it simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the dynamic of Litwick getting obviously drunk on power. Something that we're probably going to bring up in all three of these. There's actually some pretty good gameplay story integration. Throughout the game, there's this might be reaching a little bit, but I don't think so. I know I say that kind of often on this podcast, but trust me, there's stuff that are way bigger reaches than this that I think of, and then after a while I'm like, no, that's stupid. I won't talk about that on the podcast. There's, as the game, as Litwick like kind of grows stronger throughout the story, it feels like Litwick becomes a lot more important to the team and a lot better, less of a... At the beginning of the game, this is very much like an escort quest, pretty much. You have to be very, very protective. You have to be super careful. A lot of using Dust Noir as a meat shield, right? And that, it turns into much more of a team at the end. To the point where you get to the very end of the game kind of points you in the direction that the intended strat is using Litwick as a meat shield. So that's part of why I think that whole progression's on purpose, and it's not just that one moment.
I didn't notice that. Does Litwick's stats change with each dungeon, does it?
I don't think so. I was looking for that, and maybe I missed it, but I didn't notice anything. But just the enemy design is much more conducive to helping out Litwick.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, with that, I guess we'll talk about the dungeon design stuff. Like I said, this game plays out mostly as an escort quest in the beginning. Even at the start, Litwick always hits hard enough to be decent support, but the problem is that he is very, very fragile, so you have to be careful. Litwick can use Protect, but there's no CTC in this hack, right? I don't want to go on another 20-minute CTC discussion. I'm sure that will come up again in this podcast. Don't worry, for those who want more of my great opinions on that. There's no CTC in this hack, so you cannot proc Protect whenever you want. And that creates a dynamic like what I said before, where you want to use Dust Noir as a meat shield more often than not early on in the game, because enemies have access to range moves. Litwick also has range. Litwick has Shadow Sneak and two
Lava
moves.
Plume?
Yeah, Lava Plume and Dark Pulse, and both of those hit not 2 tiles ahead, but it hits all the tiles around. 1 tile in all directions. But there's the option for Litwick to just always attack from the back, so you're still getting that DPS in while you're protecting. and all that good stuff.
Litwick definitely, Litwick definitely carried me through the one of the boss fights in this game, and Lava Plume especially, like sort of
Yeah, you're talking about the
going back to it, the Phantom Decidueye.
yes.
Yes, like I was in a losing position. I stuffed up. I don't know how. I forget how. Whether it was just button trouble or what, but I was surrounded by so many Phantom, and I don't know what ability it has because it's a post Gen 4 Pokemon. So it was pretty much the equivalent of Unburden,
Chlorophyll.
and yeah,
Because he puts up
and
the sun, then they start moving faster.
right. So it's chlorophyll, right? So basically, Dusknoir was getting hammered left, right, and center by all these Phantom, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go here, and then boom, Lava Plume,
Exactly.
Litwick. It was just it's so satisfying too when a range move like that hits. It's
Oh yeah.
it's why I love using Discharge when I've been playing through as Team Fire Spark. It's just gotta love. Room clearing moves, they suck if you're at the receiving end of them, but if you are the one
Oh, but
unleashing
if you
them,
use them,
oh god, you feel like a god.
yeah, no debate there. Yeah, that is a perfect example of how like the enemy design changes to where Litwick becomes more important as the game goes on. That's a really cool part of this hack. I think what makes it work, especially early on, is that Dusknoir is no joke. Like, this guy's a tank. He punches guys in the face and they die in one hit. No BS, right? Maybe you need to do a little chip after one hit, and that's where Litwick comes in with a Shadow Sneak from behind. This guy's got elemental punches. He has a Confuse Ray to just, if you don't want to mess around with that and you can't take any damage, you can do that as long as you're within one tile. And he also has a range option, Shadow Sneak, as well. But he takes a lot of hits. Like, it takes you like in the first dungeon at least. I think it's like 5 attacks before you die or something like that. And you kill guys in 1, maybe 2. So yeah. There's some progression that you get throughout the game. Before the second dungeon, you get access to 2 exclusive items. One of them makes it so that Dusknoir is immune to ghost moves, which is hilarious. There's so many times that bailed me out. It's not even funny. And then another one where Litwick is immune to dark moves. That one's not as good because they don't really spam dark moves very much in this game. But the ghost immunity for Dusknoir makes him just feel stupidly broken. But he's not.
Yeah.
He's not. They do some tricks to make you feel really powerful, but still pressured by the game. And half of it is that you have to protect Litwick still. There's still that aspect of it. And also there's a resource crunch. A big resource crunch. You need to manage your PvP and be super careful, or you can pretty easily run out of moves. And just in general, there's things that can alleviate this, of course, like you can pick up throwing items, and stuff like that, and also just getting in position so that Litwick can provide you some extra DPS. Again, adding to that point where like Litwick becomes more important as the game goes along. Because if you try to solo the whole game with Dusknoir, you're going to run out of PP and lose. So it's figuring out when the escort is going to get their hits in. Really interesting. You also get access to Shadow Ball. That's the other thing. The exclusive items, and then you get Shadow Ball. Which is that move is so great.
Yeah, it was one of those things where you find it in the dungeon, and I mean, I've played enough hacks to realize, thinking, this might be important. I should replace one of my moves with this.
Yep. So always positive podcast, right? I need to mention, I was not looking forward to replaying this game because the one time that I played it, which is when it came out, I did not like this game at all. And the reason why is because in the second dungeon, there is a spirit tomb that knows Ominous Wind. Okay? Now that's a ghost move. So Dusknor is immune to it. Litwick is not and dies in one hit. I was very, very frustrated by this. In hindsight, there are ways to work around it. I'm thinking that when I played this game, I was probably just in a bad mood or something. And like as soon as I died to that one time, my brain just went into full, monkey rage mode.
Rage kit. Yeah.
Like, fucking trash game design, Omnis Wind, fucking garbage. There are ways around it. The one that I use as a go-to was, let's say you're encountering a spirit tomb in a room. Like, you know that they're going to enter that room. You can change, even without CTC, you can change Litwick's tactics. You just wait there, and they stay in the hallway, so Omnis Wind is never going to target Litwick. That almost always works. I might be talking on my ass about the AI. I think in hallways, he will never use Omnis Wind unless you are within 2 tile range, at which point, since it's in a straight line, you can either use an item to debilitate him and then move in and kill him, or just do damage with Shadow Sneak and kill him that way. Yeah. I don't think you would kill him with 1 sneak, but still, same idea. It's kind of an inventory check. He is.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I only encountered 1 spirit tomb in that dungeon, so either the spawns got reduced or Ominous Wind got debuffed or something like that.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. I'll have to go back and double check that though.
Yeah. Other thing is that those listening that may be interested in the hack or whatever, there's a fair amount of traps and monster houses in this hack as well. And I don't want to go off on a huge tangent about that. I'm not a fan of either of those in general. Just inherently what they are to the game, right? Like, multiple ways to skin a cat, but traps are traps and monster houses are monster houses. But I will say this hack at least plays around them in an interesting way. Because what you said about Litwick, like Litwick's lava plume in a monster house, it is very satisfying to just see like 9 enemies die at once. And that's something that I feel like's definitely like that was on purpose. That's what he's trying to go for. Yeah. So there's that. Then the bosses. We already talked about the Decidueye fight, where that's where it really starts to feel like Litwick really takes over, and feels more important. There's a lot of ways to lose this fight, because of the plus speed aspect of it, and the Decidueye hits pretty hard too. What I end up doing is the classic PMD group boss fight of just throw a seed at the leader, get them out of there, and take out all the minions. But yeah, even then, pretty tricky. You need to be fairly tactical to get through it, and again, like manage what you have accordingly. So I think it plays to the strengths of the game for sure. The Houndoom fight is cool. I mean, phase 1 is Dusknor just beats the shit out of him as long as you have a seed.
Yeah.
Phase 2, he Mega Evolves. All of a sudden, he's doing way too much damage, but then I realized, wait a minute, Litwick is immune to fire moves. And he's also immune to dark because of his thing. So if you have Litwick just sit in the front, you can't lose. So
yeah, like I actually had. Now this was just by luck rather than anything else, but it was Houndoom was pretty much front on with Litwick, and the AI being the AI, it went for Litwick rather than Dust Noir, and yeah, it was like easy win.
yeah, this was cool. I think that we kind of brushed over this in the story part, but there's some custom anims in this game, like the one where Dustnor pulls out his Motorola Razr. That's a classic one. There's some other ones too, like particularly with Houndoom and stuff like that. And there's, I think, if I remember right, I think Litwick and Dustnor might have a little something, but I don't know. It adds to the game. There's a lot of it's very stylish. That's not a very descriptive word. That's all I can think of. It's just very stylish, short, sweet, to the point. A lot of flair. So it's cool. Cool. Added a lot.
And I will say the phone is a FunnyKecleonMeme trope now. First seen in Dust Noir, the Spirit Guide, used in the other two hacks, and also with his scene in Mystery Mail, Blooming Chaos. I actually the scene before my one, it was Lucario on the phone, and I think it actually came with portraits as well. Or actually, no, Dust Noir did come with portraits as well. So I shouldn't say that wasn't an evolution. That's always been there. But yeah, Mystery Mail, that one too has it as well. I thought I'd just point that out. It's definitely a trope.
All right, moving on to the second hack, Merchants versus Pirates. This is the one that he submitted for Hack of the Year. First thing I want to say, Yakko, did you finish this game?
So I did finish this game because of Hack Jam judging. So this was for Hack Jam 3. And I was actually on stream with Kecleon and a few others. And he learned very quickly at how more of a casual gamer I am, because I think it took me over an hour to finish the final set piece and I was playing as Molinis, which apparently is one of the easier of the 4 options to choose. I know I'm talking about this out of context. For those
Merlinus is who? Is who? Like what Pokemon?
The purple Kecleon. Purple Kecleon. So he has his thing is he has protein. Not the vitamin, but the ability. So that worked well as a I guess that did get me out, if I'm remembering my playthrough correctly. That did get me out of quite a few little scrapes or sort of, I guess. Yeah, it's a handy ability, and apparently I hear that it's also quite a popular ability for some of the newer gen starters as well.
Yep. That is, they gave it to Greninja, Gen 6, and then Cinderace last gen.
Right.
So, yep. And Kecleon has access to it, but his stats aren't as good, so people don't use him in competitive. But that's a whole other topic. Merchants vs. Pirates. Yeah. I don't know where to start with this. There's so much. I will say, let me start with this. I also hated this one the first time I played it. Okay, and I changed my mind, much like Dust Noir the Spirit Guide. I also hated this one, and it's for the same reason that I really like it now, because this plays so differently from PMD. Let me explain this. Like the retail PMD games, the way they're set up, in my opinion, are very reactive, right? You are supposed to kind of like hold down the run button, go forward. Sometimes you're going to get hit first if you do that, right? You get hit, you're able to recognize what move did the enemy just do, about how much damage are they doing to me, right? Based on how much they do I need to expend my limited resources, my items, the most valuable thing in the game? Do I need to do that to kill them instantly? Do I need to heal? Do I need to like switch positions, have my party member take the lead? But it all starts with just like rushing headfirst into an encounter. If you do that, you're gonna fucking lose instantly in this game, because the whole point is you have to be proactive and never get hit. And the thing is, the game gives you plenty of options to not get hit, right? But until you realize that's what the game wants, it's frustrating. But I got past that point. Like, it just all of a sudden clicked for me when I was playing on this run, and I have a completely flipped perspective on this game. Did you have a similar experience?
Yes, so I pretty much caught on with that strategy as well, in that if you saw so most of the enemies in this game are ultra beasts with their own very specific abilities and little mechanics matched to them. So you there's sort of a couple of things that you strategy wise that you need to do. Essentially you need to figure out, okay, what ultra beasts are visible on this screen, and then how do I then prepare myself so that I have the upper hand? Like, I I actually wrote down a note here that I said I want to have a rant about ultra beasts, about the concept of them in general, but we have so much material to get through that I'm happy to wait until we talk City of Light with in another episode.
Yeah, spoiler if we're doing a tactics episode.
Yes, but fair to say, look forward to that, because Ultra Beasts controversial. I'm not sure, by the way, if you can hear anything on my mic. I live about 7-8 minutes from an airport, and there is an air show going on at the moment. So if you can hear any background noise,
it's very slight.
Yeah. So that is, I won't say what the event is or what, because then I'll dox myself on YouTube and Spotify. But let's just say I live near an airport, not a commercial one. Okay. The fight is going.
It sounds like it's going crazy.
Okay, so this wasn't. I thought this was meant to go for like 3 hours later. Maybe they've brought it forward because it's meant to rain later today. But the fighter jets are going over. I don't care if you keep this in, Max. This is podcast moment.
Just found the episode title actually, so we're definitely keeping that.
I was not expecting that. Where was I? I was actually, I was saying that we're not. Ultra Beast. So save the rant for later. But
okay.
How about I mute my microphone and you keep going with your points, because I'm expecting it will fly over again at least twice more.
Excellent. Yeah, we should. We kind of just jumped right into the nitty gritty, the opinions immediately. But what this hack is, in a shell nut, is premise is that there are two merchants, which are green Kecleon and purple Kecleon, that you can play as, and there are two pirates, Pirate for Alligator, which is has become a SkyTemple staple, and Pirate Cinderace. I don't remember their names. To be honest with you, they all have actual names. Except I wrote down the one that I played as. back then and also this time, which is Kagero, I think is how you say it, which is green Kecleon. And essentially, this game is, there's just one dungeon divided into two. It's pretty long. And there is a score system in which you are graded based on how much treasure you pick up, which treasure is an item that you can pick up just like any other that takes up space in your inventory. So there's a trade-off here, right? Where picking up treasure makes it harder for you to actually finish your run. As well as how much real time it takes you to get through the dungeon. So you're incentivized to go fast, and you're incentivized to pick up treasure to the point where you don't need to constantly rely on items. But there's also items littered everywhere in this game, everywhere, including really broken ones like wands from Super Mystery Dungeon. You go through your run, and there's a mini boss right before you get to the halfway marker. And then you get to the end, there is the final boss, which has 2 phases, and then there's an optional super duper final boss, which if you want to risk it all and get a whole bunch of extra treasure, you can do that. But if you lose, you're gonna really kick yourself because you could have just ended the run. It's an optional fight for greed. It's cool. It's really replayable. One run takes maybe, I don't know, like 30, 40 minutes, right? It's like kind of outing myself as not being good at the game I'm about to mention by saying this, but it's like the same thing as a Hades run, you know? It takes, you're sitting down for 30 minutes, all right, I'm going to get through one run or die. So it's definitely got that appeal to it. It's the other half of it as well is how, like, there is an aspect of, there is technically a midpoint to the dungeon where you can save and all that stuff if you want. If you die and you lose your items, you might as well just restart from the beginning, and it gives you an option to do that. Just return to start. Most of the time you want to do that. It is so hard to come back from death in this game that it might as well be permadeath. I almost wonder why there's a midpoint in this game. Like, what's the point of that? Literally just to be able to save, I guess? Because your run's effectively over if you die once. Yakko, what do you think about that? Am I on the right track with that? Was that your experience too?
Yeah, I think, look, I mean, I was not paying attention to the scoring system at all when I started. I didn't even know what the requirements were. I think I played an earlier version that may have changed things up a little bit with how it scored. I mean, I know that I think I took so long that, yeah, I think I got the worst possible score. But I made up for it with a wonderful stream experience with Keck and others. But yeah, I was more playing it for progression rather than actual scoring. So and because I was playing, 6, 7 other hacks, yeah, it's I didn't get to replay it and aim for that higher score, to be honest. So but yeah, you are right. There's nothing wrong with what you said, though. Essentially, like, if you die, you're not really going to get a high score. So there's almost no real point in continuing.
Yeah, there's what was I gonna say? I think the score system, like you said, you can totally ignore it, right? Because the baseline difficulty for this is pretty decently tough, right? Like I was saying, I didn't even finish this game the first time I played it because I was just getting pissed off, running straight into enemies. There is definitely a certain level of satisfaction the first time you beat this game. So yeah, just doing that is definitely cool on its own without the score system thing. But once you do that, right? Once you figure out, like, okay, this is what the dungeon design is. These are. It can be easy to in roguelites kind of autopilot and be like, I'm gonna go for this build every run and just like execution test my way through. And the score mechanic, I think what it does, it's effectively a difficulty slider, right? You can make this game, once you're at the point where you can beat it, you can increase the difficulty for yourself as much as you want, right? By just trying to go all in on trying to get a high score. It's really cool. Should mention that there is a negative to this, which is that it increases loading time between floors, and it is kind of noticeable. But for everything that the mechanic adds, I think it's definitely a net positive. It makes this game a lot better. There's another word I was thinking of, left my mind. Let's see what else. Great tutorialization. That's just what my bullet says. Really, really good tutorialization. Right at the start of the game, there's a bunch of NPCs that you can talk to, and they will explain, like, there's one of them that says the fairy type and I think it's Gen 6 plus steel type, where it doesn't resist ghosts and dark anymore. Says that's in the game. It talks about some of the new items that aren't in Explorers of Sky, such as wands from Super Mystery Dungeon, and some other stuff where, like, the average player might not be aware of that information, so it kind of tells you it up front. Optional tutorial NPCs you can talk to. Then halfway through the game, Yakko, you were talking about this earlier. The second half of the dungeon is all the Ultra Beasts. And it is... I totally agree with your assessment. You have to treat every Ultra Beast very differently. If you just treat them all as generic enemies, you're going to lose. Like, and the game knows this. There is an NPC who literally... It's just an encyclopedia. Like, you can just talk to the NPC at the midpoint, and every single Ultra Beast, it'll say, like, this is their type. This is their, like, signature move that you need to look out for, their hardest hitting move. This is what it does. This is their stat distribution, and any miscellaneous stuff, like the cockroach lady. What's her name? Yakko, do you know who I'm talking about?
Pheromosa.
Pheromosa. Yeah, has 3 times speed. So if you didn't read that, you might say, this game is shit. Why didn't she just zoom across the room and kill me? But if you do read it, you would know that's a super threat, and she dies in 1 hit. So I need to get rid of her now and worry about everyone else later. That's really cool. I think, guys, I get that it's hard. I think every hack that is introducing something that is really new in terms of, like, you don't think whatever you consider to be, like, a significant portion of your audience, they might not already be aware of this knowledge. It might be a good idea to have this somewhere. Like, maybe you don't have to literally have an encyclopedia like this, but maybe, some kind of resource. Maybe throw some shit in the README, in the text file, or whatever. But this, it's obvious when you think about it, I guess. But the number one thing is that the difference between people, like for a hard game, the difference between people quitting your game and people wanting to come back is how much bullshit they think it is, not how much it is to the developer, because you have all the information. The player does not have all the information. So if they think it's bullshit because everyone perceives what you make differently. But if you give them the information and they are on the same wavelength as you, that makes your job designing levels so much easier.
Yeah, like I wasn't dying 14 times at the final boss fight with now because I was one of these people that had no idea about Ultra Beast before playing both this hack and City of Light. They were both in the same hack jam, and I suddenly learned about these strange creatures. But I diverged a bit. But the boss battle between, and all I call them is the Boxmons from Sun and Moon because I don't know their names. That boss battle sequence there, I died a lot, and I know I died a lot, but at no point did I feel like. I mean, it could be because I was having fun on stream, but even if I wasn't, at no point did I feel like it was unfair. It was I just thought, well, skill issue, like that old meme. Like it's like, well, I don't feel like I'm being cheated here. I don't feel like that you can't win. Because I guess that's the difference, right? I guess that's what you mean by bullshit, right? If the odds are so stacked against you that it would take RNG to win, then yeah, like at no point did it feel like RNG. It's just, you know, there was a path to victory, a narrower path than I'm used to, but there was a path to victory, and I just, I changed up the strategy. There wasn't that, it wasn't like I cheesed or abused any of the mechanics. It was just I had to try different things, and I forget if I actually got suggestions or not, or if I'm like, no, I can do this. But yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, this hack is hard, or at least hard by yakkomon standards. But you're right. At no point did it feel unfair. It just felt like a tougher challenge.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we gotta move on because we have another one to get to for the recording the interview. But yeah, definitely check this one out. If you're like me and you played this hack when it came out and you were like, nope, this ain't for me. I'm telling you, try it again. It might click with you, like with that change in mindset, knowing you're supposed to never get hit, right? You're supposed to be a little bit more careful and do whatever you can to never get hit once. And I don't know, maybe that'll help someone, but I'm telling you, this game is so much better once you're in that mindset. So moving on to Seeking Skyward, a hack that came out a month ago, right?
Yes. It came out for Hack Jam, the last one that just happened, the Meaningful Decisions one. And this is the one I actually wrote the majority of my notes about, because out of the three hacks, this is definitely the one that has the most developed story in it. And I think, and it's also the freshest in my head, but like, I can definitely talk more about hacks if they have a story about them. That's just me, that's the yakkomon way, and how the gameplay fits with the story as well, and everything. So I guess, do you mind if I start off?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So the premise is technically set after Rescue Team's climactic battle, where now I'm going to mispronounce this. I know that, but I'll just pronounce it the way I've always pronounced it. Rayquaza. He has destroyed the meteor and is now, I guess, reflecting on, what he wants to do with his life, and he just comes down to the town and picks up some items, some probably the equivalent of 2-minute noodles. They're not very healthy for a legendary Pokemon. Then he comes back and a Minior falls to the ground. Befriends it, and Minior wants to have all these different experiences, but in the end, which I didn't know about this because again, I'm very unknowledgeable about stuff post Gen 4. Inevitably, when Minior does fall to the surface, its shell cracks and it disappears, and Rayquaza has to deal with with that, because he kind of feels like he's a bit of a failure in life. Like he feels like he's good for nothing and everything. But yeah, I don't know what you thought of the different endings, Max, because what was difficult about this was there were no credits. So there was no sort of, I guess, indication of what the canon ending was, especially for me who didn't know Minior's lore. So I mean, being the comprehensive player that I am for this podcast, I did attempt both endings. The first ending is, Minior disappears, and the second one is Rayquaza goes and remakes Minior's shell. But the dungeon sequence to get to that point in the second ending, I got to the 12th floor of the 4th stage, and that was the peak that I got. I could never get past that one, and I thought to myself, actually, this is actually a story about like one of those, if you love someone so much, set them free, kind of like now I'm showing my age here, but it's because I read about this recently again, was when Ash has to let go of Butterfree in the Gen 1.
Oh man.
Like everyone remembers, if you're a 90s kid, you always you remember that moment. I mean, I didn't. I had to be reminded of it from years ago, but it's very much that kind of thing where it's that the good ending is actually the sad ending, and I actually almost appreciate just how hard it was to get the quote unquote not good ending, because I actually really like that. Like, narratively, it makes sense that you suffer through so much, and yet it's worthless in the end. Like, that's how I kind of like that in the story, and I think the whole meaningful decisions part of the hack jam. I mean, yes, it was a branching path and all that for that ending, but I mean, I really like that. I really like that. And yeah, like I even without knowing Minior's lore, I cottoned on very quickly as to, well, oh, okay, so this is probably, considering how hard it is in the resisting side of the end of the game, that
Right.
perhaps I'm not meant to do this.
No, definitely. I picked up on the exact same thing, and I also did not finish this game and looked up the ending. I know. And yeah, the ending.
We both gave up at the resistant.
No, we could not keep resisting.
No,
and
but
it is effectively the exact same ending, which is what I wanted, but like what you said, because that's what makes sense for the story. It makes Rayquaza a pretty, very tragic figure, in that sense. If you get the either ending, honestly, the whole idea of just, I forget exactly what he says in his monologue, something along the lines of like, everything becomes so mundane when you're alive for a millennia and you save the world. And he says, well, saving people from normal shit is boring, and that doesn't help people grow, and that's like a net negative. So what I do is usually I just sleep until a meteor's about to crash on the world, and then, oh shit, I have to do something now. So I don't know. Coming from it from that perspective, it's Rayquaza's a character that is very what's the word I'm thinking of? Like having like disassociation almost.
Yeah,
that's a little extreme, but
Yeah, it's like that plot. The plot where all powerful being seeks meaning in life because he is all powerful, and therefore,
Right.
you know, yeah, it's like the common folk have more fun than I do, even though I have all the power.
Right. Yeah. So it's trying to find meaning in the little things and whatever. Um, I feel we need to say this. He did say that he got inspiration from 8X. If anyone listening to this is thinking about that, so yes, that is on purpose. Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to say about the story aside from that. It
Yeah,
there's more
this is definitely the most
there's more development.
story-focused
I
story.
still think that like the bulk of this game, actually more than half of the game in terms of dungeons, is if you choose to, like as Rayquaza, try and go all the way to the good ending.
Mm.
So in which like that's literally half the game where there are no cutscenes. So um
I mean,
um
I guess from a gameplay perspective, I do want to mention straight off the bat that Kecleon and I have had the same idea for our hacks that we make. The Agron shop, which allow you to remember your moves, which meaning that yes, there's the default move set, but you can change it to whatever you like in Rayquaza's move set. That is an idea I was going to use for Darkrai's Revenge. I was going to say, yep, let's have because remembering moves is free in the Electivire shop. So I thought, right, just keep that option open to the player. If they don't like the moves I give them, because I'm very much an attacking player, not a buff player. If they don't like the moves that I've given them, then they can always change them. So, kudos to Keck for that. I really like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It kind of goes along with the theme from Merchants versus Pirates of having a lot of different loadouts you could pick from, and having a like adaptable dungeon design, right? Like pretty much no matter what you pick, though the strengths and weaknesses do come into play. That's something that I thought was especially relevant for Merchants versus Pirates, like the different IQs directly interact with and stuff like that. Same thing for like all the different moves. Right? Like I was thinking as I was going through the Rayquaza good ending, trending, whatever. Of like, if I had this move, this part would be easier, but then I would be struggling against these guys. So there's not one perfect way to do it, really. It's just what you're most comfortable with. I mean, I'm sure obviously it's a video game, right? There's a meta, there is a perfect way. But it's not like glaringly obvious the first time you play it. So let's see. In terms of gameplay, I know you have a couple more notes. I just want to point out something I thought was cool. In that last segment, when you die, instead of going back to the very start, there are checkpoints. There's, I think it's like a 6-part dungeon as you go further into the sky. Each level, you get a save point. And when you die, not only do you not lose your items, you get your items back. That is genius. And I wish I thought of that first. There's no penalty for failure. You can keep trying. The only thing that's going to hold you up is that this game's fucking hard. You want to rage quit, if you're like me, which is why I did. But yeah, that is fucking smart. No penalty. Just keep playing. By the way, gameplay story integration, Yakko. There's no way to soft lock yourself into losing. You can keep trying.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's definitely something that I think more hacks should try and implement. I think, because yeah, losing items, like it's not like. See, I guess the losing items is okay if you've got a hub world to go back to and it's a sprawling 40-hour game. But if you're making a 5-hour game and there's no hub world, no shops or anything, like, it's something to consider. Definitely.
Yeah, and you had some other points on there that you wrote down?
Yeah, I mean, just quickly, I won't go too much in detail with them. But I enjoyed the Mega Evolution stuff for Rayquaza. It definitely helped in a pinch because that way it eliminates type disadvantages and buffs defenses so much. And I think it was an acceptable trade-off, like the belly trade-off that was quite acceptable there. The other thing that I really liked was the fact that because Rayquaza and Minior are floating Pokemon, you could go anywhere in the dungeon your heart desired. It was like having a drought orb active every floor. It was fantastic. I just loved the freedom of just going, you know what? I've got more space to play with than just the corridors and the rooms.
No, that's really cool. That's something that with the guy that I used in Merchants versus Pirates, he could do that as well. Just walk over water. It really felt free for him. And the most recent version of Dusknoir the Spirit Guy, because it did get patched after it initially came out, that was added to Dusknoir as well. He can also walk through walls. So that's a pattern that obviously he thinks that's cool because it's in every hack he's made. And he's right. We are nearing an hour, so we have to get to the interview. So, anything you want to say, or are we done?
I'm done. I've said all my points.
Perfect.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, see you on the flip side. And we're back, joined by FunnyKecleonMeme.
Good day.
We're gonna be talking some ROM hacks,
Hello.
folks. Yakko, do you want to ask the first question?
Yes. So, I mean, as always is the case, you have more questions than I do, Max. But I thought, so I'll just ask. This is probably not a good first question, but I'll ask it anyway. So we know something we actually didn't talk about, but I will now, is that you've spent a lot of time in the SkyTemple server learning ASM from scratch, getting a lot of help and advice in the SkyTemple server. So I think you're the most appropriate person to ask this question to. And I would like to say, I guess the question I want to ask is more about advice. Like, what would you say to someone who might want to implement things that require ASM but are too daunted to try it out? Because I know ASM is very daunting and a lot of people get put off by it. Like, people ask, oh, can I do this? Yes, it requires ASM. Oh, that sounds scary. Like, I don't know. You've got experience in learning this from scratch. So yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Right. So regarding things about ASM, yeah, it did sound daunting to me at first when I tried it out. So when I started up the thread in the support channel, I was like, I'm ready. I don't know, I don't think I'll be able to make it, but let's give it a shot. But honestly, after implementing, a lot of the things for ASM is already documented. So there's this thing called PMD Sky Debug, which is like a big compilation of where a lot of functions within the game are. So for example, there's a check for when abilities are triggered, or so on and so forth. So a lot of this is documented. So all you need is a little bit of a push to understand the syntax of what everything is. And honestly, from there, you just need to search up the registers. Okay, that sounds, maybe it's a bit difficult to understand, but like everything's documented. You just need a little bit of advice, get some help from the support channel, honestly. A lot of people there are willing to help out. So recently, Miju also started learning a little bit of ASM, and yeah, the thread is really, really cool. Basically learn from scratch as well, and yeah, anyone can do it, frankly, honestly. Since SkyTemple is really done in like a language, it's a language somewhat close to C, and ASM is basically a really, really bad version of C. So if you can do a little bit of SkyTemple, you can start learning ASM, honestly, I think.
That's inspirational
Yeah,
stuff.
absolutely. And even I'm thinking of maybe taking baby steps into it, because I know for my hack, 8x made an ASM patch, but there's one thing missing in it, and I'm thinking, well, actually, this is my entry into it. I can learn how to do the one thing that 8x didn't do. Not because he forgot it, just because I didn't tell him to specifically do something.
I mean, for sure, it looks weird because it's just MOV, LDR, BL, whatever. But like once you get the basic terminology down, which maybe will take you about an hour, 2 at the most, a lot of it is just, it's relatively understandable. Difficult to interpret, don't get me wrong, but like reading, it's not that bad, frankly.
Nice. Getting into your hacks a little more, we of course talked about all your hacks at the start of this. Something that we focus on a little bit is that in all of your hacks, I would say especially in the last two, right, in Merchants vs. Pirates and Seeking Skyward, we point out that there's a lot. There's like an emphasis on optional achievement, right? Like there's kind of like a difficulty slider that you build into the game, right? You can kind of make the game as hard or as easy as you want, and the benefit for that is just the achievement, right? So if that's something you've done multiple times, then obviously you think that it's a good design and you like it. So why is that important to you, and why do you want to include that stuff?
Okay, before I answer that question, we're good to talk about spoilers about the hacks, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Right. So both of you, did you both complete the optional route in Seeking Skyward?
No, we both quit.
Okay, that's understandable. Okay, that's surprising. Because everyone I talked to beforehand who really played the game, they just did it and I'm like, it's optional. Why are you doing this? All right, good to know. Anyway, so on creating optional difficulty. Okay, so I'm sure you played the very first hack as well, which frankly it was
that's one of the spare guide.
Yeah, it was a dumpster fire. But I also implemented something like that too in the exclusive items, like to make your super effective attacks not hit you as hard. So yeah, you can just drop it anytime in the thing and you can move on with it. But yeah, difficulty sliders in the game is it's just fun having options, because I'm sure a lot of people played PMD hacks and are very familiar with the gameplay already. So you've mentioned this in the podcast a few times, but it's like a lot of people go into some sort of auto mode once you start playing dungeons, So my thought is I want to make dungeon gameplay a bit more, you actually have to put in some effort into it, So that probably explains also why there's a bit of a difficulty spike with my dungeons, I guess, But at the same time, it's just I want some variety in gameplay, so which is why I have this repeatable route as well,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, to your point, I think that like you said, kind of the what you're trying to overcome there is like encourage people to get off their autopilot, right? So it seems like I didn't even pick up that the fact that you could just throw away those exclusive items, but you totally can. So there's 3 different ways that you've kind of implemented the same thing. Do you think that any one of those has been a more successful solution to like encouraging people to branch out and get them to buy in and be less frustrated?
Unfortunately, frustration is something that comes a lot with my hacks from seeing other people play it live.
Yes, I remember our infamous Merchants versus Pirates stream where I was struggling with the box mons from Sun and Moon for a good hour.
Despite everything like that, I think in the end, like I have a tendency to go a little bit over the edge in terms of making things difficult. So I'd say I probably didn't really make it. I guess engaging gameplay is going to have to come from a few other sectors other than hard difficulty. I don't know, I'm just a sucker for difficulty, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's interesting how you word that. How you just say like, yeah, my stuff is hard, because I noticed that you did come out with updates for, I believe, all of these. I don't know if you did Skyward yet.
That'll be soon.
Got it. The updates for the other two was a lot of, like nerfing difficulty and stuff like that, but not getting away from still the core, like what you're mentioning, all the optional difficulty stuff, like the core of what makes that part harder if you want to go into that mode, right?
Yeah.
And that's
The nerfing is more for the unfairness.
The vanilla route.
Yeah.
The vanilla.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was cool. I think that not to get too off track, I think that you should not give up on trying to find ways to shake it up at all. I think you are you're fighting the good fight. Trying to figure out how it's going to click with people. So, there's that.
Easy though.
The next question. We talked a little bit how, and I think if I remember it, you directly said this to me at some point. How Merchants vs. Pirates, you wanted that to feel more like a normal roguelite, and we both, Yakko and I, came to the conclusion that if you die in the second half of that dungeon, you might as well start over. Like it might as well be permadeath, right? Because you want to keep all your items. And I think that's interesting that that's kind of translated over to PMD, because PMD is pretty unique in the genre because it doesn't do that. Like every level is very distinctly like it's its own level and stuff. So I mean, I think it gives it a, like, Merchants vs. Pirates has a very unique feel in that sense, where a lot of the times you kind of do just want to start a new run after losing at the midpoint. Was there any like particular inspiration for where you, like, what made you think like this is gonna work in PMD and I'm gonna make it work?
Okay, so I guess so you're talking about like the general idea of like an actual roguelike,
right?
Okay. So the first thing that came to mind when I was thinking of the hack was the concept of replayability. So like, why would I want to play this game over and over again? So in Hack Jam 2, I know you all haven't covered this person yet, but they made this hack called 3 Days, yes? So that hack, to quickly summarize, is a focus on a different branching storyline based on your different options. So I was wondering if I could make something similar to that. And then I thought back to those, those high score arcade things, like why would you even do something? Because you can get a higher score. So I was thinking, why not let's create a game totally based around some sort of high score system? And then I realized that, hang on, I haven't made a hack about who my profile character is, a Kecleon. So I was like, why not base a hack around the collection of items, and then everything just spiral out of control from there. So yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I definitely get the arcade vibes from it too. It was a very it's weird to think about how I was going to talk about this in the first half, but I forgot, and we were running short on time. But like point systems, you don't see that too much in games, but thinking about historically why it was there, it is, like exactly what you said. It's inherent in replayability, right? Like if you want to get a higher score, you totally can. Even like some more modern games, right? Think about like Tony Hawk. I say modern, that game's like 20 years old, but like same idea. Or even like a rhythm game, something like that. They like points are still there, in some more recent games for the same idea. So Pretty cool. Let's see. You want to ask the next one, Yakko?
Yeah. So again, a bit more of a laid back one. I think I might already know what your answer won't be for this, but I guess you've made 3 hacks so far. Which one's your favorite? Like, what do you feel like? It can be for any reason. Like, what was the most satisfying to work on, or just for any reason. Why was it like? What's your favorite one you've done so far?
Ooh, right. That's a good question. Okay, I can tell you what my answer is not though. That's not the spirit guide. Not that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made it. Look, I made it in about a week. I made it about a week from starting from a fresh ROM, and I was really just trying to figure things out. I mean, I'm glad for what it is that it's my start of my journey and everything. But man, it is mid. Like it's just not not good.
Oh,
But
I feel the same about Corrupted Core.
I mean, I'm glad that it's there, but at the same time, God.
Yeah.
Right. But between the other two, it's hard to say. See, on the one hand, I feel like Merchants vs. Pirates was a fun ROM to get you out from regular PMD gameplay. Just mess with the internal mechanics, see what you can make out of it. Like the high score system in general and the inherent replayability function. I'm really, really happy I made it. I'm quite proud of it. But at the same time, Seeking Skyward was my dive into not only ASM but trying to do something narrative with the story. So I don't know. It's hard to say between the last 2 hacks that I did. I really like them both, but for different reasons. So hard to say a favorite, honestly. I mean, of course, Seeking Skyward isn't complete yet, so I'm still working on it right now. Hopefully, it'll be out soon. But once both are complete, I really don't know.
Dealing on Max's questions, because this is almost a bit of a follow-up, but I guess with Seeking Skyward, like you said, it was your first foray into something that had a bit more story to it. Is that something you're likely to do more of in the future, or like how did you find, like how did you like feel like having to not only make a hack that was sort of gameplay focused but also story focused as well, I guess.
Full disclosure, the reason why I wanted to do a narrative hack in the first place was because, hey, my previous hack, Merchants vs. Pirate, focused on gameplay, so let's try to do the other side of the coin, to go full narrative. And then I thought up about the general idea for the hack, but all the dialogue, all the script was done within a week, because I spent the first 2 weeks of the hack jam just doing ASM, trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
So, wait, sorry, what was the question? I lost track.
I mean, sometimes I ask vague questions anyway. I guess is story stuff that you're likely to do in the future, or like what? I guess having worked on both, what do you prefer, the story or gameplay? I suppose, or you don't have a preference. That's fine.
I mean, obviously, it's nice to have a little bit of both in in any given game, but if I had to choose between the two, I think I'd probably go with gameplay, because writing stories and dialogue, as I have obviously come to learn, is not my strong suit. I mean, I can practice, but at the same time, it's gonna be it's a bit difficult. It doesn't come to me as naturally as most other people would.
What was the biggest difficulty you ran into with Seeking Skyward while you're going through? You said you wrote it in a week, which I think that'd be hard for anyone, to be honest. But what, like in general, what were the things you're getting stumped on?
Story writing, Rise, or in general?
Yeah, story writing.
Story writing. So, story writing. I guess the main question was how to make it such that Rayquaza and Vinyor actually, work together. Like, if you work together as a team, like they have some sort of bond together. Obviously, as you have probably figured, the ending was a little bit rushed. Yeah, a little bit. So, hopefully the update will fix it by giving a bit more narrative context to the fact. But that was the toughest part, I guess. Like just wrapping everything up together, it was tough, especially given how I laid everything out.
Got it. Yeah, writing endings is not easy. You know, it's you can have a bunch of ideas out there and then realize, oh wait, I have to answer that. Maybe speaking from experience a little bit. God, the we. That's a whole other story. How much we had to, you know, for Explorers of the Spirit, all the crap we had to do to fix that ending like 25 times. But yeah, fun times. Yeah, anyone that's writing, look forward to the ending. Yeah, so
I will say.
You go ahead.
Yeah, so I was actually checking out in the hack ideas in general. A lot of people seem to have their endings planned out really strongly from the start. So, I mean, frankly, I had the ending planned out as well. It's just how to get everything I put in the narrative back together. That comes to be really, really difficult, as I've learned.
I've definitely read that a good technique. I don't know how what it's called, if it's prevalent in story writing or whatever, but a good technique is write down your ending and all of the, I guess, lore before write backwards. That's the shorthand version of it. Write your, like, what is it that you want to achieve? What is it about this world that, you know, what are the core elements of the world, and work backwards so that you can foreshadow. So I guess, you know, like like I said, you kind of did that with Seeking Skyward. You know, we had the lore about Minior and everything and everything. So yeah, sort of working backwards from that, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Done that.
No, I agree. It certainly makes it easier having the ending in mind. That's not a silver bullet, because you know you do run into things that don't have to do with like telling a cohesive story, right? Having the ending in mind helps you make sure the story makes sense and it's cohesive. Sometimes you run to the troubles otherwise, which is if I not to put words in your mouth, I think that's what you were getting at, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
got it. Oh man. Dude, next question. So you said Merge vs. Pirates was, you know, you wanted to make something really replayable. That was the concept there. Wanted to branch out into story and ASM for Seeking Skyward. What's next? Do you have anything in mind right now? What are the new ideas you want to try?
Oh, okay. To be frank, those two were the main pillars that I really wanted to cover, like just try out in general, which is why I entered them as hack jam entries. So it's like, let's have a hack focus on gameplay. Now let me try to pivot the focus on the story. Frankly, that's the main two things that I really wanted to try. Now, I guess the big thing for me would be just to improve my spriting and the like, which I don't know. Maybe I actually covered that in Merchants vs. Pirates as well, but still, I'm really not sure. That's a good question. I guess the next focus would make a longer and more complete hack, something you can play for, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours, something, as opposed to just an hour and a half.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, definitely don't have to have an answer right now. Just wondering. That's a good thing to work towards, though. That's said on this podcast a billion times. You know, longer hacks are what people are looking for. It's how this community will blow up. I will believe that. Take it to my grave. But yeah, cool. Yakko, do you have anything else that you thought of? You said you had a couple that you didn't write down, I think.
No, I had to write down a couple because I forgot. I had to think of questions. I was writing my notes and I woke up this morning and I was like, I don't have any questions to ask. This is going to be a very quiet segment. This is going to be a very quiet segment for me. if Max asks all the questions, I'm just going.
All right. Perfect. My bad. I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that. I'm sorry. I totally
No,
forgot.
that's fine. No, I love on the spot moments. It makes this podcast what it is.
Yep.
Here's one.
Please,
Why does Dusknor hold the phone?
Oh,
Like, where'd that come from?
All right. So, right. So in general, much as I have had an issue with ending of stories, I also have a big issue with starting stories off, right? So like how to give the characters lore into why are they doing the things they're doing, so on and so forth. And I realized, hey, wouldn't it be funny if I were to give him a phone to just exposit all the dialogue, and so the concept stuck. It's a stupid Deus Ex Machina, and I love it. It's dumb.
Perfect.
Oh, it's perfect, absolutely perfect. I mean, sometimes I think now though I think actually the one thing I look, I know I don't want to give you like suggestions or whatever, but I reckon I want to see a Rotom phone next time.
Oh, a Rotom phone. All right.
Yeah, Rotom phone. Like just they have like I don't know. I don't know if that's too. I don't know if it would work in the next. But I just thought to myself, hang on a minute. Now Rotom turns into a phone, so you can.
Rotom phone in the repository. We
I don't
unfortunately
know.
We don't.
Yeah. Because it's technically not a Pokemon, so it probably won't get accepted into Sprite-Bot.
No, we have a slot. We have a slot for it. Rotom phone. Yeah.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah.
So I don't like. I've said this 10 times before. My knowledge of Pokemon stops at the end of Gen 4.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Mine stops at Gen 7, so
Showing my age.
It's okay. You're young at heart.
Thank you.
All right. So with that, FunnyKecleonMeme, in 30 seconds or less, tell me why is Merchants versus Pirates going to win Hack of the Year?
It's gonna win Hack of the Year because it's unique, it's replayable, and it does something with dungeons that no other hack, I think, does significantly. Also, you can brag about high scores, so that's pretty cool.
Yep, I think it's the only hack out there with a high score system, so big tick for that.
Yep. Okay.
Right. Actually, before we continue, I'm legitimately curious, which route did you play during Merchants vs. Pirates?
I ran Kagero. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah. Alright, Kagero, of course.
And I had Merlinus, if you remember.
Right, of course I remember. No,
Legendary stream. That was.
Nice.
It's not recorded, unfortunately, folks. So, I burn the evidence of me having a skill issue.
There is no pirates. How sad.
I know, and I find it funny too that, like, us two as podcast hosts, we had the Kecleons, the two streamers that stream this game, PMD Gang and Argonian. They chose the merchants, and I think one of them chose they both chose the merchants, but different ones. So so you at the moment you will not find a gameplay video of the sorry, not what I'm saying, merchants, it's pirates, God.
I was gonna say, I was confused for a second.
Yeah.
Nice. How sad.
Okay, what I was saying is there's no gameplay footage at the moment of the merchants side of things. So if you're choosing the merchants, you're on your own.
No video guide available.
No video guide available, no cutscene guide available, nothing. I will say, please choose the merchants because there might be a little there might be a little yakkomon related surprise.
Oh yes, of course. Of course.
Okay, and any last words before we go?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I've done a lot of things in the community in general. I've done some sprite work, I've done ASM, and I've done ROM hacks. Frankly, to anyone trying to try out doing something new, like not just ROM hacking, but within ROM hacking or outside, just give it a shot, see what people can help you out with. Honestly, give it an honest shot. It's not that bad, frankly.
That's the truth. Not that bad. That is a model to live by. Okay, well, thank you everyone for watching. This is episode 11 SkyTemple Podcast. We are going to be back 2 weeks from now. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.